Can you safely say you're getting everything you need to get out of the internet today for your business? Are you meeting your goals? I mean, if you take all the dollars, all the effort, all the time, everything that you've done, can you safely say you're meeting your goals online? You're getting everything you can out of it. If the answer is no, stay tuned. Hi, my name's Ken. I'm with Integris. And before we get started here, I want to do a little bit of house cleaning, so please forgive me. I made me a punch list so I wouldn't completely lose my mind on this first episode. First thing is I am reworking the first 2 episodes I launched over the last week. Quick synopsis. Episode 1 was describing 2 things. First is, what's the most important thing that anyone could do as their first step when trying to achieve goals online? And it's not build a website, it's not have a Facebook page, it's not. Number 1 goal is to set your goals. What are you trying to achieve online? When you look at the internet and you look at all these tools online, what you have to do is you have to look at like a tool belt and projects with the tool belt. Your business is like a certain project. It doesn't require every tool in your tool belt or every tool in your garage in order to achieve it. It requires certain tools, and different businesses require different tools. It's that easy. But you got to have your goals first. If anybody's telling you a website or telling you to send content or develop this or develop that first, that's a really bad sign. All right, so that's number 1. Okay, number 2 is I want to apologize for the quality of the first 2 episodes because, I'm still playing around with how I want to do this, and the first 2 episodes were, let's just say, not great. The other thing was I got 2 thumbs up and 2 thumbs down. 2 likes, 2 don't likes. And the thing is I have just one request. If you're going to dislike a video, I want you to tell me why in the comments. The reason being is we're trying to learn here. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not here to post videos of cats doing stupid stuff, or I'm not here to try to make something sales pitchy. I'm going to give you the real world when it comes to internet marketing. Now, if you disagree with it, post why you disagree with it, because businesses need to know why you disagree. Just don't put the dislike. Still dislike it, but say why you dislike it. All right, so just stick with me on that. And the last thing I want to tell you is I'm not going to do the whole Steve Jobs or wear a suit or act like a geek or do all these things that you would expect. This is real work. I'm wearing my work clothes here. I debated it. Hey, should I wear the black shirt and green screen? I got a green screen right over here. Should I green screen something and do all this other junk, or should I just kind of cut to the chase here? I'm cutting to the chase. So again, if you're looking to be entertained or you're looking for whatever, then you really need to just look at other websites and be entertained. Not what I'm doing here. So next thing I want to do is kind of give you a couple of illustrations about what I'm going to contend. I'm making an outlandish statement here. My outlandish statement is most services on the huge level of corporate or on the small level of individuals, most of them are out for themselves and not out for your business. That's the crazy statement I'm going to make here. Now, on a corporate huge level, website builders. Website builder programs, if you notice, there was one that was advertising in the Super Bowl, right? And what they sell you on? They sold you on it's quick, it's easy, it's simple, and they had some of the ditziest people promoting it. It was kind of silly. Seriously, when we get behind the scenes and I'm talking to marketing and advertising people, we look at something like that and we admire the fact that these builder programs have put together a marketing strategy and understand what makes people purchase what they purchase. But it's also really sad because people think that buying these programs are going to do something for them. And just a quick test, I don't remember seeing any of their customers advertising on the Super Bowl, but I saw them advertising on the Super Bowl. So you got to be really careful with the corporate. And if you look on an individual level, 3 or 4 years ago, I went out with a pastor, a friend of mine, and we were having lunch, and he was introducing me to this guy. And this guy proceeded to tell me what his freelance business did. And so during our discussions, here's what he said he did. He would get a business interested. they would go buy or typically get a free theme from WordPress. He would install it on junky cheap hosting. Then he would go to Freelancer, have somebody write some content. Then he would go get some pictures and drop them on the website. He'd publish it. And I was like, dude, I said, man, that is how businesses fail. I said, this is horrible. I said, do you not know that? And he's like, yeah. He goes, but how else am I going to make $2,500? You see, he presented himself. Now he's much more polished than I am today. I mean, I'm giving you the real deal. I'm giving you the John Candy planes, trains, and automobiles version of me. What you see is what you get. What he did was he came across polished. And he gave a product that's absolutely negligible at best to help out a business. So that's on both scopes here. So anyway, I just want you to know that. I keep looking at my cheat sheet because literally I have done this video, I think, 500,000 times today. So for your enjoyment, you've gotten 500,000 rough drafts of me not being able to speak and articulate what I'm trying to say. So yeah, you should feel sorry for me because this is actually the best cut if it makes it. All right, so what I want to do is move on to the next step here, and I kind of want to talk to you about your goals in business. So goals is just like a vacation. I mean, there's a gazillion analogies I'm sure you could come up with here. But, you would never just throw stuff into a suitcase, get into your car, and just drive somewhere, right? I mean, you got a general idea. I mean, when you go on vacation, you think, well, I'm either going to ski or go to the beach or do this or camp or something. And then you build everything around what the theme is, what you're trying to accomplish, what your goal is for your vacation. Now, business is the same way. You've got to be goal-centric. Because if not, just like the person who just threw a bunch of junk in their car and just started driving one direction, if they end up in the mountains and they've got beach clothes, they're in trouble. You got to prepare, you got to build your goals, and then use the tools to get you in that right direction. Now, I don't know of anybody in the world who's going to disagree with that, unless they're trying to sell you a punch list item like a website. So understand your goals when you're moving into it. So what I've done here was I made some kind of like cheat sheets, and I'm going to publish these, and I'll just give a link here in YouTube so that you guys can follow it and check it out. But okay, so number one here are what are your goals in business? Because let's face it, your big concern here probably is money. How much is it going to cost? What do I need to do? This sounds expensive. And you know what? What I'm going to do is I'd rather just dip my toes in it, go with something very basic and easy. And then if it starts to work, then I'll do something more sophisticated. Okay, so my analogy that I typically like to use with people who make that statement is it's like entering the Daytona 500. And you're going, okay, I want to run me a Volkswagen in that race. Now, if I finish top 20, I want to get me a better car. If I don't finish top 20, I'm probably not going to do anything else. Why enter the race, right? No, you're not going to finish top 20 in an old beater Volkswagen, right? But it's the same. It's the same mentality with this marketing. If you're going to do it right. If you're not going to do it right, stay out of it. Don't even waste your money on it. I mean, if you're serious about your business, be serious about your business. If you're not, then don't. Step away. All right, enough preaching. So your goals. Goals have a direct impact into your expenditures. And sometimes these things overlap. And so if you look here on the screen, you're going to see I have a general interest, I have a traffic, and I've got conversions. And you'll see green, which just like in the real world, greens go, red is stop. General interest is easier to achieve on the internet. General interest means they just see your business. They see your branding, right? And then as you get more complicated, then, it's harder to get people to click than it is for them just to see something. and it's harder to get them to make an action, i.e. convert them to a customer or whatever you're trying to convert them to do, than it is just to get them to the website. Seems logical, right? And it also seems more reasonable to think that each one of those things in general is harder to achieve. And so the cost is going to be more for each one of those actions. Now, on Facebook or AdWords or anywhere, you can dictate what you're trying to achieve. And so the goal is to understand what you're trying to do. Now, most people, I just want to sell stuff. I want to convert, right? But if you're like most businesses, you don't know certain things yet, and we'll get into there. But the idea is to understand that traffic and conversions are harder than general interest. Now, let's talk about the old pitch of branding campaigns. Now, there's two theories about branding campaigns. If you get back in the old radio days, they say, hey, look, people got to hear your message, and they got to hear your message and hear your message, multiple times. And then they start to trust your brand, and then they'll start to call. Then, right? Well, branding campaigns is kind of like the same thing. They tell you that they need to see you, blah, 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 so many times. And so they'll put you on these branding campaigns. Now, this is really sad, but okay, let's just get into this real quick. So I was on a board with a nonprofit, and they had a marketing guy already established. Now, my role there is to just kind of be support for technical stuff and understand things and just kind of go through it. And this guy comes in, I kid you not, he comes in, he starts throwing around statistics about general interest. And the general interest, the terminology is something called an impression. Now, an impression, just for you guys who don't know, an impression on the internet means you've got an ad somewhere, someplace on the internet, on some page, somewhere. Let's just leave it very loose. And somebody goes to that page. Now, they don't see your ad. They don't make an action on your ad. All they do is just go to the page that your ad is on. So imagine it's going to a newspaper and all those advertisements in it. Just imagine you being one of those advertisements that they don't necessarily even see. That's an impression, okay? This guy would tout those statistics, and you would hear the oohs and ahs from the board. And I remember going, oh my gosh, man, this guy's serious about using these stats to validate his effort, which impressions is a metric. But it's not used as a metric for actual traffic or gaugeable results of the company other than branding. Now, if you listen to some people, what they're going to tell you is that branding campaigns are important. They get your business out there, lets people see it. I don't debate that. I mean, there's some people out there who will tell you that it's for small business. To heck with that other part. It's all about generating traffic and conversions. Can't really argue with that either. I think there's a hybrid in the middle. But my point is, you're going to spend more money trying to achieve a different goal. And traffic and conversions, also the understanding of your customer and understanding what you offer, that's just as important in this process. I'm not sitting upright, am I? I think it's sit straighter, I guess. No. Oh, well. I know I should be doing all this stuff, but heck, we're educating, right? We're not teaching chiropractics today. So your goals, you need to understand what your goals are. The goals for most businesses is traffic and conversions. So you see the money. Red equals green and green equals not as much green. How's that? And but understand what you're trying to achieve and try to be as specific as you can when writing this. I want to grow by this much. I want to have this many customers. And you also need to understand that you're not in this thing for the one hit. You need to understand your lifetime value of your customer. If you were to have a new customer, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a nonprofit. Let's say you're a church. And part of what you're doing is you're trying to bring in new people into your church. You're going to spend more money up front trying to attract people to the church. But the lifetime value of someone who wants to serve in a Christian ministry, wants to be a part of the church, that lifetime value is high because it's not just a one-time purchase of a small item. And so you got to kind of keep that in perspective. My other things are probably, a lot less than that, obviously. And so the idea is just to understand your lifetime value of your customer. So the next thing is, what are your top business products and services? So let's break this down a little bit. So the idea is you offer X, Y, and Z, right? So if you're an electrician, maybe you do breaker box swap outs. If you're a large energy company, you may want to do like some kind of whole reconditioning of an entire warehouse, right? So you got these different products and services. And so the idea is when you're writing this down, you've got to understand something. There's two different approaches, basically. Approach number one is you're going to pick products and services that if you sell them online or you sell them using internet or web-based stuff, what you're going to do is you're going to be more cash flow positive, meaning there's enough margins between what you're spending wholesale or what your real costs are versus your markup. And so those are products a lot of times people will use because it covers the cost of the advertising. Now, there's a downside to that. The downside is once you put in, once they do that, it requires a larger decision process. So think about it like this, okay, like this hat right here. I got it from Duluth Trading Company, right? Now, this hat was $30. I like this hat. But I also bought a hat from Amazon, and I bought one from Sims because I'm kind of picky about the hats that I wear. And so I went out there, and one was like $15, and then the Duluth hat was $30. Okay, so I bought them because it was a no-brainer for me to buy the $15 hat on Amazon, right? I trust Amazon. I made the purchase. But then we got the $30 hat, right? A little bit more of a decision, not much, but a little bit more of a decision. $30 for a hat, right? Now, if your products and services, if your margins are, say, a $1,000 product, $500 product, whatever it is, or service, the time it's going to take someone when they first hear about you to the time they convert into a customer or to even reach out to you, all this is part of what's known as a sales cycle. And so the no-brainer price is going to have a lot less margin in it, and it's going to make an easier commitment. The higher margin products are going to cover more of your upfront expenses, but they're going to require a longer commitment process, the sales cycle. So it's kind of important that you understand those different processes, and then as you're writing products down, keep in mind this lifetime value. Because, I bought this $28 hat, but then I got an email from Duluth Trading Company, and they said, hey, we've got a sale, and we got a sale on shirts. Hey, look what I'm wearing here, guys. I'm wearing a Duluth t-shirt. I got them for $17 a pop. They're great shirts, and I bought a whole slew of them. I'm like a Smurf with my clothes, by the way. I like blue, so just keep in mind that my wardrobe almost looks like the same color. I know you get to learn a lot about me. I'm glad to share it with you. So your top business products and services. So you need to write those down. You need to consider, that lifetime value of the customer, and then you want to get them conditioned to using you and trusting you. I mean, let's face it, we got some beast out there, right? Like Amazon, for example. If I see something anywhere, I don't care where it's at, I look at Amazon too, and I see if I can find it there. And so you've got to really understand, get them used to using you, get them used to understanding you, and we'll get into more of ways to do that a little bit later on. So next up, what are your top 5 strategic advantages? So this is what makes your business unique. All right, so these need to be very, very strong and elicit a strong positive reaction. I know. I can read. I know. Thank you. So these 5 things. So let's talk about this a little bit. I read one time, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he's in marketing. He's paid, umpteen bazillion dollars to write articles. And anyway, one of the things he said was, he says, when you're creating your call to actions, he says, think of just a huge person. He's just a big fat guy is what he is. He worked all day and he comes home and he's sitting on the couch and he's got his favorite drink, he's got his remote control, and he's got a bag of his favorite, whatever he wants to eat, right? And so you got this guy, and now what's going to cause him to get up and move in a direction toward buying what you're offering? What's it going to take? What's those strategic advantages? What are these call to actions that's going to make this person get up and go, man, I need this, right? Now, obviously, there are products that span a spectrum of ideas, and we'll get into this. But the idea is, when you're thinking about this, you need to not think about very vanilla strategic advantages. You need to be very, very distinct. So let me try to think of. There was an analogy. Oh, here it is. Sorry, I got a little cheat sheet over here. So the idea is, imagine there are 3 companies, right? And if all 3 companies look identical and their products are identical, now the ultimate decider is the cost. If they're identical, we're going to go with the one that costs the most, the best price, right? But if there's one that has a better reputation, if there's one that has more brand recognition, then that could equate to it too. Now, a lot of times, if you're a smaller, medium-sized businesses, you're competing against guys who are much more established than you are. And so if that's the case, then you have to have even stronger call to actions to offset yourself even more. This is not always a price game. Now, sometimes it is. You're going to hear some people say, oh, it's never about the cost. Don't ever think about the cost. Not true. Sometimes it is about the cost. It depends on what you're offering. Sometimes it's not. But the idea here is to write down your strategic advantages and really think through it. Do not rush through this. Do not make it vanilla ice cream. And if you can have some customers that you trust, run it past them. Say, would you do this versus that? Is this a strong enough call to action? And tell them not to tell you what they want to hear or what you want to hear. So next up is, what are your top 5 disadvantages compared with competitors or general expectations? So what I mean by this is, you're not going to be able to compete on every level with your competitor on the same scope. So what I'm trying to tell you to do here is, as you're going through it, is your customer service not good? Is your warranty not where it should be? Is your scheduling not very good? Are your competitors doing emergency 24-hour service and yours is schedule it out? What's realistic? Where are your prices compared to your customers or your competitors? You really need to think through this. Okay, this is critical that you really cover these topics. Now, at the very bottom of the screen here, you're going to see, if your strategic advantages are not compelling enough to elicit a strong reaction, rework the strategic advantages. This is critical. This is not something to skip over, because what we're going to do is this information is going to play into your marketing plan. And so imagine these call to actions in conjunction with your products here. Let me scroll back up. And then ask yourself, okay, if you were selling X product with X strategic advantage, is it enough to be compelling for someone to elicit that reaction? Now, there are other factors that we're going to get into, and I'm going to get more specific, because in the second episode I did, I was very, very generic, and I know it would be useless as far as like real world application. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that here for today. I'm going to put this worksheet where you can upload or download it and then fill it out. And do not cheat. Okay, do not take the easy way out. And then what we're going to do in the next episode is we're going to cover this subject, which will dig a little bit deeper. There was my teaser. You got to do the teaser thing, right? So if you like what I'm saying, if you believe I halfway know what I'm talking about with my 25 plus years experience, yes, I threw that out. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Click that little bell thingy, and then you'll get the notifications, and you won't miss what I'm trying to do here. And the goal is to work you through this. Now, I do want to throw this out that my goal here is to educate you. My goal is not to have every one of you who are going to watch this become one of my customers. I don't want it. I'll spread myself way too thin. You've got to grow yourself very logically when you do this kind of business. Otherwise, I'm just going to be the next guy just trying to sell you something cheap and quick and have a quick turnover with it. I am possibly interested in the near future about bringing a person or two on board, a new client. And then I'll let you know as that stuff comes to be. But if you like the page and follow, this is going to give you a heads up in our process and how we determine the best way to grow your business. So thanks so much for listening, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and I look forward to doing the next episode.